Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Mr. Shakespeare here again on the 29th of August, 2022, and I'm here with Liz Cross, psychic medium and remote viewer. How are you doing today, Liz?
Great. What is this? I've never heard of this.
Well, this is a website that tracks subsidies. In other words, free money handed out to companies by the American taxpayer. Covers federal, state, and locals, everything, and it tries to keep a tally of all the free money that these companies get. So at the moment, leading at number one is Boeing with just over $15 billion of free money. General Motors gets $8 billion. Intel gets 6. Alcoa gets 5.5. So does Ford. Foxconn, interesting. That's a Chinese company. They get 4.8 billion. And all of these things. Amazon, you wouldn't think Amazon gets free money, but they do. So these companies, this is your top 100, all get this kind of money from the government. Now, whether that's federal, state, it's all that combined. This is all free money that we're giving to private companies. Okay.
Wonderful. Why on earth would we do that?
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? So I need you to, the problem here is we've got federal, state, and local. Can you group together? I'm not so worried about the local, but the federal and state, can you do that? Can you group together the states and federal?
Yeah, let me put the US government together. Okay, I'm going to throw out the local. Okay, what would you like to know?
Why are you giving these companies so much money yearly?
Why are you giving these companies like Boeing, General Motors, Intel, Alcoa, Ford? Why are you giving them money? They apply for it. They apply for it through grants.
Okay. So why are the grants what are the grants there for? I mean, these are private companies. Surely they should stand on their own 2 feet, no?
I feel like some of them are innovative grants. I feel like some of them are research. I feel like some of them are hardship grants. There's a whole number of reasons here.
Okay. Well, let's just take one. Amazon is number 11 on the list, gets 3.5 billion, and that's the largest retailer on the planet. How are they? Why are they getting any money?
I feel like they get a lot of information about us, the consumer, from Amazon. So yeah, it's done under research purposes.
Okay, well, they run Amazon Web Services, which contracts to the government, which hosts most of the things. So, okay, all right. General Motors and Ford Motor Company get $14 million combined.
They're struggling. They get more hardship and to keep people in business and employed. Okay. And also they get it for ingenuity to make more energy sustainable cars, environmentally friendly.
Okay. Well, General Motors, which owns the brand Chevrolet, recently produced the Chevrolet Volt, which is an electric vehicle. And apparently the cost of a battery for one of these, a replacement battery, without subsidy is in the region of $32,000.
That doesn't surprise me.
Does that mean a lot of this money is being used to subsidize electric vehicles?
There's a lot of money being used to subsidize electric vehicles. Yes, and the creation of them. Let me ask General Motors. I'm going to pull General Motors in as an entity. Does it cost $32,000 to replace a battery? And what was the type of vehicle?
A Chevrolet Volt.
And a Chevy Volt? About $29,000.
Plus tax. Okay.
Right. Okay. Plus tax. Yeah, the tax wasn't included in that.
So a Chevy Volt, which let me just have a look at that.
How can a consumer possibly pay for an electric battery? They can't, and that's what we're working on. They're trying to make batteries that last a lifetime, right? And they realize that people cannot just fork out for that type of money for a battery. So
Okay.
if the battery costs $30,000 per se, how do you factor in? I'm asking General Motors, how do you factor in the cost of the car and the cost of the battery? They're pre-made to sell. Okay. But when how much is a Chevy Volt? Do you know?
I think it's about that price. I don't know. I'm just trying to find out, but I think it's about $25,000-$30,000. So a replacement battery is the same cost as the car.
Why does the battery cost the same amount as the car? That is beyond their control. Okay. Unless they were in the business of making the batteries and manufacturing them themselves from the raw materials, they could offer it to the consumer at a much cheaper cost. However, they can't do that. They're at the mercy of these batteries being made out in China, from what they're telling me. And there's no way to reduce that cost. Now, do you see that as the lithium supplies start running out, or if they start dwindling, that the batteries become more expensive? And yes, I'm getting a yes back from General Motors that don't be surprised if you see a battery costing upwards of $40,000 to $50,000.
So the MSRP on a Chevy is about 30 grand. Yeah. So the battery is the replacement battery, which eventually it will need. It's the same car. It's the same price as the car. Wow.
So people will basically just trash the cars. They'll have to just ditch the cars and get a new car. Now, considering now the wastage of that, right? Because that's the first thing that came to my mind. Okay, so what if the battery breaks down? Now we're scrapping cars at 1 or 2 years old. Okay. And right now, the dealerships and the government are in talks about possibly offering a replacement if the battery goes down. So the government will have to subsidize that. But then you're thinking about all the waste from making a vehicle, transporting it across the water or wherever it's made, all of the raw materials that go into making a vehicle, that's wastage too. So the question is, are we actually saving the planet if we have to mass produce these electric vehicles just because the battery breaks down, the battery stops working? And then I gotta know. It's far more damaging to the earth to have to keep replicating vehicles because people can't afford the battery. Listen, this goes into a probe. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, you'll remember I did a probe on electric vehicles and the electric vehicle market. And there was a massive surge in electric vehicles and people having, battery powered cars. And then we figure out that it didn't work down the line and we go back to gas powered vehicles, right? I got that. And that must be the fact that the resources are going to be scarce and the fact that it's too expensive. It's not cost effective. Now we're having to replace entire vehicles just because a battery may go down. It's not going to work. And that's what I kept probing into the future. And that's what I kept getting.
Oh yeah, I think there's a different agenda going on why they want people to drive electric vehicles. So, okay. Walt Disney gets $2 billion a year in subsidies.
Oh, I gotta probe Disney. I love Disney. Okay, let me probe Disney. Why do you get $2 trillion in subsidies?
2 billion, Liz.
2 billion. Sorry. Why do you get $2 billion in subsidies from the government? Ooh. Now, I feel that this was a state deal, okay?
Okay.
And they said, we don't anymore. Now, that would coincide, and of course, our Floridians who listen to us would know the answer more than I do, but that would coincide with the fact that DeSantis is practically at war with Disney. Is it because the funding has been pulled from Florida? Yes, a lot of that funding came from Florida.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Drop them and ask, why does Nike get $2.1 billion in subsidy?
Nike. Yes, the UK pronunciation. Of course, those of us here in the USA, we call it Nike. Why do you get, how much do they get? 2 billion?
2.1, yeah.
Why do you get 2.1 billion? To help subsidize manufacturing costs, and so that they make a very cheap, it looks like a knockoff version of Nike to go to needy families. I don't know. It seems like they ship a lot of this stuff abroad.
But they don't make anything in the US. It's all made in China or in Vietnam or something, isn't it?
Oh, right. Okay. But it seems like a lot of that clothing is sent abroad. So
Right.
maybe that's like donated clothing. So they subsidize Nike to make the clothing that they then send out to other countries, very poor countries.
Okay. All right. Drop them.
Okay.
Royal Dutch Shell, one of the biggest oil companies in the world. Why do they get $1.8 billion?
Well, Dutch Shell. That's all through grants. They apply for different types of grants. A
Okay.
lot of that is research. A lot of that is environmental research grants, and they do a lot of research.
Okay. All right. Drop them. Berkshire Hathaway.
That's
Why
a
do they
investment
why do
firm.
they get $1.78 billion a year in grants
What do
or
you-
handouts? What?
Sustainable living. What do you mean by sustainable living? It's almost like insurance money. I don't understand that one.
Okay. Insurance money. Okay. Drop them. JP Morgan Chase. Why do they get $1.59 billion a year in free money? Handouts.
Again, this is along the line of insurance. It's insurance. It has to do with federal insurance.
Yeah, but this is money they're getting. They're getting free money. Okay. Federal insurance against what?
The bank collapsing.
Okay. Who else do we want to ask?
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there's quite a few people should go down the list and have a little look at all the handouts these companies are getting.
Meta Platforms, Facebook. Meta Platforms is getting, what is that? $848 million a year.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder they obey the FBI and the government. Let's ask Mark Zuckerberg. Meta Platforms is getting $848 million worth of subsidies from the government. Why? See, it's all under the umbrella of research. What do you mean by research? What they like our information. They like to have access to the information that Facebook holds, right? There is a government.
In other words, they're buying the information.
Yeah, there is an agreement there for if the government needs to access information, Meta supplies it, and it's all under the guise of research.
Okay.
That was an interesting
well, let's do the last one. EDF, Electricité de France, which is a French-based company. Why is the US government giving them $838 million a year? 839, sorry.
Electricité de France. Electricity. Why are you taking money from the U.S. government? Oh, now this is interesting. This is under sustainable energy and environmental reasons. That's their grant. They're trying to create sustainable sources of electricity. You know, lots and lots of government grants are given to research, whether it's medical, whether it's fracking, whether it's environmental, university, private companies. The government does give a lot of money in research. And I know that because I've worked in research for years. And it's interesting that you can pretty much, disguise whatever you want under research. Now, most research grant receivers, especially in universities, they have to account for that. But I don't know, because I've never worked in the sphere of a private company receiving research money, what they have to satisfy in order to do so. Because when you're doing public research or research at a university level, the university will have its own auditing board. And then that has to satisfy the board of, the government board, and they know what criteria has to be met. I don't know what it is for private companies.
Okay.
But looks like with this Meta platform, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It's essentially buying and selling information, our information. So yeah, that was a really good probe. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.